Dave knows how.
Okay, so I got this Bostic Never Seized Blue Molly. Now the shop manual asks specifically for a grease or molly based lube anti-seize that is made by 3Bond. And I called 3Bond on the phone, tried to get them to sell me some of it. You know, they didn't want to sell it to the public, number one. Number two, they didn't want to give me a call back. The lady I did finally get to talk to was just a receptionist. She said she'd have to get the sales guy to call me back. You know, I could have. They needed a tax exempt number to be able to sell to me, which I could have made arrangements to do that and just had, you know, one of my friends that are in business to call them up and order it and get it sent, you know, to a machine shop, local machine shop, or even for that matter to the Kubota dealer, and just had them order it for me and just paid them for it. But I couldn't get a call back, so I went online. I did a search. I ended up on ontractortalk.com, which is a forum that I'm been a member of for many years. I'm not real active on there, but I am on there, and I do, you know, well, I can't even really say I go on there that often because I really don't. But when I did a Google search, it came up to one of their threads, and somebody in there suggested using this stuff and said it was pretty much equivalent to the other very good stuff. So I did a search on Amazon, found this, purchased it, and had to buy this 1 pound can for this one little spline boss that is up in here on the clutch pad. That's where this goes, okay? So on the other end over here, this spline gets regular grease. I'm wondering if it would hurt to use this here as well. This is supposed to have the molly goobly goo goo in it that you know, is supposed to prevent rust, corrosion, seizing, to ease disassembly and reduce downtime for industrial uses. Blue Molly is an extreme pressure anti-seize and lubricating compound, specially formulated. Contains no graphite or copper. Use Never Seize Blue Molly on metal equipment to prevent rust, corrosion, seizing, to ease disassembly and reduce downtime. Sounds like some pretty good stuff, and it is, says it is for lubricating, so I don't see why you couldn't just use this right here on these splines as well. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it on here. Let's see. Find a clean rag. I don't want to get this stuff on your hands. It says that it can cause allergies, allergic reactions, skin irritants, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. We're not Gonna put this on here heavy because we don't want it going everywhere. You know, when it starts spinning around, we don't want it slinging all over the place. So just a light coat should actually do the job, I think. What do you guys think? Leave in a comment below if you've ever used this stuff, what you think of it. You know, I also read on the forum, one person said any anti-seize will work just fine. As you know, and they're probably right. But this is supposed to be the good stuff. Ah, man, it's tight. Okay, also gonna put a little bit right around the face of this bearing. This is supposed to help with wear. Okay. Don't want much on there, so we're going to wipe any extra. Kind of just pat it off. Just so we don't have a big gob. I don't want a big gob flying around everywhere. Flip around over here. I might put a little bit. And we sprayed this with a treatment. CRC treatment. We're just gonna put a little bit on there. That'll give that bearing somewhere to ride. It's also supposed to help. The moly is supposed to help with the wearing of the metal surfaces. So that's a good thing. So I certainly don't think it's going to hurt anything. Put it on there. All right. I did read on in the shop manual, and the torque specs for this is correct. It doesn't say anything in there about putting thread locking compound or anything like that on the threads. So obviously that's not necessary, although I would think it would need it. I'm gonna call Kubota tech support and see what he says, if it should have some Loctite on there or whatever, and if he says yeah it needs it, then I'll pull those bolts back out and put some in there. But I didn't see anywhere in the book where it said it needed it, and I haven't heard or read anywhere where anybody says it needs it, so I'm going to assume it doesn't need it. Although I would think it would need it myself, but that's just me. I'm not a mechanic, so, and don't profess to be. I'm probably the furthest from a mechanic that you could be. All right, we're getting really close to sliding this thing back together. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some measurements off the face of here to where these splines start on this shaft. and then from the face of here to where the splines start, and do a little math and try to calculate when this spline is engaging the clutch disc splined hub, and try to calculate how far apart these two surfaces will be when that spline is getting ready to enter this other spline, mating spline. And that way I will know when I'm getting close, and I can start rotating this motor to get these splines to clock right and line up like they need to be. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going to go in, because I think, you know, once the spline lines up, everything should pretty much slide together fairly easily. You know, we're going to see. We're going to find out. So, I don't know exactly what's going to come next. I'm going to have to sit back and think about this thing. And I do want to call to make sure we don't need any kind of Loctite or anything on these bolts that we just put in for the pressure plate. So that'll be what I'll do right now, is make that call. See what anybody has to say about it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I made the call and asked about putting Loctite on these bolts that holds us in. The answer to that was no Loctite on any of that. Just torque it down to 20 foot-pounds, or whatever the spec was. I can't remember what it said it was right off the top of my head right now, but I included that when I torqued it down. Anyway, I went to Lowe's and bought some bolts. They are metric bolts, 10 millimeter by 1.25 thread pitch by 100 millimeters long. So they're kind of long. I cut the heads off with the angle grinder. Got them screwed in here. Got one screwed in here. Got one screwed in here for a total of 3. That's all we're going to worry about having is 3. I know that when these go into the holes on the transmission side over here, I can unscrew these and take them out. They're not going to hit anything. There's nothing obstructing this from coming out. There's nothing there that this is going to hit. And I'm hoping that between these 3 and these 2, we can get a decent alignment as we push this tractor back together. So we're going to get ready to get set up to push this tractor back together now. We got to clean up our work area, get the tools out of the way, clean the floor a little bit, move some things out of the way so we're not stumbling and falling and tripping over stuff. You know, because anything could happen. You know, the tractor stand could give away, a weld could break, tractor fall, get really hurt. So anyhow, we're gonna get going, moving on with that. So I'm gonna shut the camera off now while we clean up the work area and make sure everything's out of the way and we don't have a trip hazard or anything that I could fall and bust my head wide open on, or some goofy mess like that. We've got this far without any death. I want to keep it that way if I can. Oh yeah, you know, I didn't mention, but I've got plastic bags over top of all of the hydraulic lines. Anywhere there was a hydraulic line that's disconnected, we've got plastic bags over that to keep dust, pollen, debris, whatever out of there. We don't want any of that contaminating the hydraulic system. So that's worth pointing out at this point while I'm thinking of it. So anyway, let me shut the camera off and get going. Okay, so we ended up wrapping this ratchet strap around up here after we got it, you know, like within an inch, and we ratcheted it a little bit. It might have been 2 inches. The splines and everything lined up. We took the bore scope and stuck down in between there when it was, I don't know, maybe a couple of inches or inch or so apart, and looked at the splines, and then we was able to rotate the engine with the 46mm wrench on the front around until the splines lined up. We could clearly see them with the bore scope, which was great. And now it's closing up pretty good. We're, you know, let's see, we took a measurement. We got a crack here now of about 1/8 of an inch. So at this point, I would say that the pilot shaft, the main shaft that feeds the transmission, is started to go into the pilot bearing, and we should be able to use a wrench and just go back and forth to these various different bolts and nuts, tighten them up a little bit at a time. This one right here is real loose, so I'm just trying to take the slack up. Okay, yeah, it's starting to get a little bit tighter now. This one's a little looser. Yeah, so we're in good shape. So of course, what I didn't do, we're gonna have to loosen it back up. Got ahead of myself. Got a little bit ahead of myself. We forgot to put the gasket sealer in between the two parts. Oh, mercy. So I guess we'll be sliding this thing back apart a little bit, and try to get a little gasket sealer in there. Shit. I swear, man. Oh, Lordy. You gotta laugh at these things when they happen. You know, back in my younger days when I was full of piss and vinegar and the testosterone was raging, at this point I'd be throwing shit across the room. I can promise you. But we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna take the bolts loose, take it back apart, and do it right. So yeah. It's crazy. Oh, me. Another day in Funland. What can I say? Another day in Funland. Oh, well. I don't guess you'll want to watch me do this twice, so I'll probably just cut the camera off and then cut it back on. I knew things was going too good, you know. I gotta get the wrench off. Yeah, things was going too good, so Oh, me. What can I say, right?
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.